Right now, I would like to welcome to the stage Curator Emma Pike and artist Frances Barrett, who are going to speak to you about a project that's been happening today as part of the 12 Artist in Residency for 12 Days project that we've got going on here.
Hi everyone, this is Frances Barrett. She's an artist who's participating in the Australian Artist Residency Program, and she's chosen not to see or hear for a 12-hour period. So I am her curator throughout this time. I received an email from Frances on the 29th of June with the subject Curator, and it was sent to myself and my co-curator, Sophie O'Brien. Dear Sophie and Emma, the two curators of Liquid Architecture, Joel Stern and Danny Zvela, have asked me to participate in a series of live events titled What Does a Feminist Mythology Sound Like? Liquid Architecture is an organisation that presents projects of artists working with sound and conceptually investigates, and I quote, the audible as an expression of the myriad, sometimes inaudible forces in framing, encoding, describing and producing what we hear. This email, and in turn this conversational thread, is the beginning of my response to their proposition. I would like to involve you two in this project, as I would like to experiment with both of you in the context of the Kaldor Public Art Project's Australian Artist Residency Program. What I'm proposing to Liquid Architecture is a new work called Curator, and I am asking that both the curators realise this work for me. What I ask of both of you is to undertake a shorter experiment or draft of this work. So let's go from here to here. Here, you both are as the curators of the Australian Artist Residency Program, and you have selected me here to be an artist as part of this project. The word curator originates from the Latin word cura, which means to care for, attend to. The curators of Liquid Architecture have asked me to consider a feminist approach to the creation of a sound work and to the act of listening. So Sophie and Emma, curators, let's undertake a project together of caretaking and careful listening. I invite you to care for me over a 12-hour period. I will blindfold myself and wear noise-cancelling headphones so that I will be unable to see or hear. I then propose to be with you between 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. on Thursday the 2nd of July 2015. Rendered unable to see or hear, a form of embodiment that I'm not familiar with, I am asking you to be my caretaker for this 12-hour period. I will not talk to you or look at you. I will not ask you for anything. I will not direct you towards anything. I will not suggest anything. I will be in your presence for a continuous 12-hour period. I want to be able to touch you for the complete 12-hour period. I would not carry a phone, any identification, or any money. When you are showering or using the bathroom, you can choose to put me temporarily in the care of another curator, or place my two hands on the wall outside the room that you will be occupying. You can choose to show me to the bathroom when you think I need to piss or shit or change my tampon. You must introduce me to everyone that you engage with on the 12-hour period with this statement. This is Frances Barrett. She's an artist who is participating in the Australian Artist Residency Program. She has chosen not to see or hear for a 12-hour period, so I am her curator throughout this time. If there is an emergency, then you can choose to remove my earphones to explain to me what is going on. If there is I will then determine if the performance ends or not. You will provide a photographer for the 12-hour period to document the entire process. I will be in your complete care. In the final hour of this performance, between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Thursday the 2nd of July 2015, I ask that you write an epistolary response to my proposition and to the experience of the work. After which, I want you, as curator, to read both these letters in succession to a live audience at the Pier 2-3. For this reading, I want the photographer to compile a series of images taken of the performance to play in a slideshow behind you. I want this reading to be video and audio recorded. In your letter, I want you to address what we did across the 12-hour period, how you cared for me, and determine how, in your perspective and with your experience, I have addressed Liquid Architecture's original proposition. From here to here, from here as email to here as script, from here as silent artist to here performing curator. This is an intimate contract which I hope you are interested in agreeing to. Any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. Sincerely, always, Frances Barrett. From Sophie O'Brien, subject, curator, 29th of June 2015, 6:45 p.m. to Frances Barrett, CC Emma Pike. Dear Frances, thank you for your email and all the detail included in this great proposal. I would be happy to be part of this in whatever way the three of us think best. For example, I would be happy to be either the curator who cares for the entire period or be a support curator should Emma wish to take this project on as primary caretaker. But of course, let's discuss together whether you imagine this being equally shared role or one where there is only one person with you, with support from the other as needed. Perhaps we might need to discuss this later this evening after Sarah Jane's talk. Thank you for proposing this lovely idea and looking forward to talking it through between the three of us. Sophie. From Frances Barrett, subject curator, date 30th of June 2015, 9:23 a.m. to Sophie O'Brien, CC Emma Pike. Good morning, Sophie. I'm very happy that you are interested in participating in Curator. I think it would be best to continue talking about this project over email, as this will then inform the final script of your or Emma's performance. I spoke briefly with Emma yesterday, who has agreed to come to the pier at 7 a.m. to wake me up, blindfold me, and put the headphones on me. After which, I am happy to be in either of your care over the 12 hours, whatever you both decide works conceptually. Sincerely, always, Frances. From Emma Pike, subject, curator, 30th of June 2015, 4:40 p.m. to Frances Barrett, CC Sophie O'Brien. Dear Frances, thank you for your email and your proposal for my involvement in your work, Curator. I'm intrigued and terrified, but of course more than happy to participate in the work and support your practice in any way I can. I actually can't think of a moment in my life I've needed to care for anyone or anything so intently. Perhaps this is good training for motherhood or pet ownership. I spoke with Sophie this morning, and she is happy for me to predominantly work with you, but is happy to provide support if I or you or we need it. I wholeheartedly agree to your intimate contract and look forward to waking you up at 7 a.m. on Thursday. I'm wondering if you can tell me more about how you expect the work to explore the idea of careful listening and how you see the work fitting into the series, What Does a Feminist Mythology Sound Like? It will help me to assess the work after our 12 hours together, if I can exactly understand your view. All my best, Emma. From Frances Barrett, 1st of July 2015, 2:35 p.m. to Emma Pike, CC Sophie O'Brien. Dear Emma, thank you for your interest. To give you an insight into Joel and Danny's proposition, I would suggest you listen to the audio essay titled Towards a Careful Listening, Sound, Gender, Feminism, Activism. One question the essay addresses is, how might we understand practices of careful listening? What does it mean to listen with care in a way that disrupts gendered patterns or behaviour and opens spaces for more generous and critical modes of engagement? What is discussed is the importance of being aware of the other person's emotional state, reading body language, listening with concern, be critical and reflective rather than obliging, and keep in tune with yourself as you listen to others. The essay concludes with why writers think addressing themes of listening are important in a time typified by a capitalisation of our communicational faculties. 1. A shift in our relations to one another and ourselves is key to reimagining of what other modes might be possible, despite the imperatives of capitalism. 2, there is much to be said about the labour and listening and care, both in terms of waged labour and what has been defined as a feminism of the workforce and the continual sexing and gendering of qualities such as sympathy and empathy. It also discusses how careful listening can significantly shift modes of collective organising that seek to challenge social relations under capitalism. I don't expect anything of this work. It is yet an unanswered provocation. Through the performance, Curator, I intend to elevate the relationship between artist and curator to open up how it is conceptually, emotionally, physically we choose to communicate with each other. If, as the audio essay suggests, careful listening can destabilise and significantly shift social relations under capitalism, what are the structures at play within the curator-artist relationship that can be brought to light, strengthened or changed through this shared endurance performance? I have a request for tomorrow. Can you please remove my headphones for Mike Parr's morning discussion so that I can listen to what he has to say? I would also like to attend the action tomorrow at ATYP. I will talk to Sarah Rodegari about her plans, and hopefully we can all go together around 4 p.m. Very best, FKB. From Frances Barrett, subject Curator, the 1st of July 2015, 10:44 p.m. to Emma Pike, CC Sophie O'Brien. Emma, I will be ready for you at 7 a.m. Ask me any questions you might need before we begin at 7 a.m. I do not want to go to the action at ATYP. I'm concerned about the performance detracting or being redundant in that context. My wallet and phone are in my black leather handbag at the bottom of my open locker. Please talk to the video documentation person to keep rolling for our performance at 7 p.m. Please remind Lottie that we'll be performing after her public program. Before starting the perform script, please introduce me to the crowd with that prescribed text. You can choose whether to remove my earmuffs and blindfold before or after your performance of the script, but this should be done on stage in front of the crowd. Thank you. I'm both nervous and looking forward to tomorrow. FKB. From Emma Pike, subject Curator, 2nd of July 2015, 5:32 p.m. to Frances Barrett, CC Sophie O'Brien. Dear Frances, 12 hours went slowly at the beginning, even more slowly in the middle, and like lightning as soon as I had to sit down to write this email to you. I pretended to wake you up at 7 a.m, but you were already awake and feeling nervous about today. You told me you'd barely slept. The first task was, of course, a coffee run, where I introduced you as Frances Barrett, the participant in the Australian Artist Residency Program who was chosen not to see or hear for the day for the very first time. The barista didn't even crack a smile, but you looked pretty happy with the flat white. We ate breakfast together, and then we napped together. I'm sorry for going straight into nap time. I had to get up at 5:30 a.m. to get here by 7, and the internet wasn't working, so I couldn't do any work. We awoke frozen together after about 30 minutes, and I warmed you up with a hot mint tea. You seemed to appreciate it. You took a break to hear from Mike Parr and Marina and blindfolded and earmuffed yourself straight after their chat. I gave you lunch, beetroot soup, and then we headed into the project space downstairs. You didn't seem to enjoy the slow walk. It's pretty hard to keep your balance without sight or hearing. But you seem to love the rice count, a very slow process with only the sense of touch. I felt constantly guilty trying to do some work this afternoon. I could tell you were struggling, but I didn't know how to help. I also thought the best way to help may be to do exactly what you'd asked me to do. Nonetheless, I felt really terrible. Sophie came to help this afternoon with pencil and paper, and that occupied you for a short while. But again, you soon grew bored. Now I'm sitting here typing, and you're there slumped in the chair, trying to find the strength for the final 2 hours. Hold in there. You asked me to consider, is if this work addresses liquid architecture's proposal, what does a feminist mythology sound like? And mentioned the concept of careful listening. I certainly felt like my mode of engagement with you was more generous than our regular communication, but I'm not sure if I was very good at the understanding part, understanding what you needed from me. Perhaps we can only tell if we truly embodied careful listening by working through the experience together over the coming days. I wonder if the context of your final work with Joel and Danny for liquid architecture will raise the same feelings of guilt for them. I feel invested in your well-being as a participant in the residency program, not just your creative well-being, but your personal well-being too. I think this has had a huge effect on the way I responded to the work. I wonder if they will feel the same without spending 8 days working and living together beforehand in a freezing pier at Walsh Bay. All my very best with the final work, Francis. Emma.